Let me tell you about the host. Dr. Randall.nozawa is living proof that a person can do everything right, only to suffer horrific events that ended decades of hard work and left him blind. The two most gruesome tragedies he suffered would make most people feel his pain, but not Nozawa. He's grateful just to be alive. Dr. Nozawa had played high school football in Honolulu and later became a professional bodybuilder. When he moved to Washington, the muscle-bound Nozawa enrolled at the University of Washington's dental school, studied hard, and faithfully graduated. Yet, after opening a handful of dental clinics, when he could finally afford the lifestyle he always wanted, a tree came crashing down and foiled all his best laid plans. We may call it tragedy. The doctor calls it adversity. Dr. Nozawa said, misfortune is just disguised as an opportunity. The first opportunity, as Nozawa calls it, was a near-fatal car wreck on his daughter's birthday in 2003. While driving his luxury car to her party, he was run off the road. A tree pierced the windshield, and the branch punctured his skull, destroying one eye, damaging the other. But that's how Nozawa met an older couple that would introduce him to his second life-altering opportunity. Caught in the middle of the couple's domestic violence incident one fateful night, his neighbor first shot his wife, dead, then shot Nozawa in the head from 12 inches away before finally shooting and killing himself. Now you may say to yourself, ouch. Nozawa said, the crime shocked the community of Gig Harbor, where it occurred, and received its due amount of attention in the area newspapers. However, during his prolonged stay in the hospital, and as he took a year to learn to walk again, his wife, Deborah Nozawa, hired temporary dentists to keep the clinics open. Yet, when the businesses performed poorly under the temporary staff's care, family finances plummeted. And with all of his medical bills, you would think that would be the end of the story, but it's not. Regarding his home life, Nozawa is just grateful that his family has stuck by him. The doctor says, my wife Deborah had to do a lot after I was in a car wreck, and again after getting shot. He said, we went from awfully rich to rock bottom penniless and almost homeless. But these days, Nozawa has global plans for his businesses. Transformational Kaizen Institute for Personal Freedom. Indeed, he works by phone and offers advisement over the internet to clients from all over the world and advises businesses in employee development and retention, in meeting long-term goals, and in growth. Plus, now he also has a world-class radio show bi-monthly where you, yes, you, the public, can call into the show, dial the number, and talk to the doctor right here on Pyramid One World Radio Network. Dr. Nozawa says, dreams do really come true, but you have to believe it before you can see it, he said. He has made his own dreams come true by helping others pursue their life aspirations in his free 14-page book, Precipice of Potential, which can be downloaded at his website, www.drrandallgeorge.com. Dr. Nozawa's radio show is here to teach and inform the world of things that we who have sight can't see until the doctor tells you what to look for. There are many things in our life that can be changed. Tonight, allow the doctor to help you, to help yourself and others find yours and their paths on your journey of life. May I present to you, the listeners, and to the world, Dr. Randall George Nozawa. Oh yeah, Doc. Oh yeah, Doc. They got the beats going. They're waiting for you. They want you now. Actually, I did get one voicemail there from Germany with a thumbs up. So there you go.
Oh, fantastic stuff. Boy, wonderful stuff.
That was so dear.
We're in these also these turbulent times.
Oh yeah, and your guest, Dan PELLY, is going to grace the screens tonight.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, I know Dan because I've spoken to him many times. I've also had him on the show and that before. I actually would like to, and I will ask him after the show, but I'm not going to tell anybody yet. So don't tell anybody I said this. I'm going to ask him, and if he wants to come back like once a month and that, just to fill us in on what's going on, because the work that he does is unbelievable. Let me give you a little rundown on what Dan does. His mission is to install hope in others' hearts and inspire them to want to live. Can you imagine instilling the want to live? Now we're in a time right now, a time period right now that I'm reading all these stories about people wanting to commit suicide. There are people in Russia, which I read this morning, and I think Dan did too. These doctors are jumping out of hospital windows. I mean, come on. This is something that affects your mind because you can't connect with another person. It's the connection. You need to stop that. People need people. A lot of times that people will give up on other people. Yeah. Dan is the person that pulls those people from that spot and gives them a reason to live. So the things that we've gone through, for instance, he says that we must narrow the disconnect from being aware in the illness to prevention, treatment, and recovery. The actions we can take to choose life. Being determined to recover from this disease and life, a wonderful life. People don't realize how great life really is. I mean, like myself that had an NDE. When you wake up from something like that, you were a dead guy. You know what I mean? It's like, hey, you were somewhere else for a while. You come back here. It's not like you scratch your head and go, this is a weird place. No, it's the same place. It's just a little different. And what you do at that point is now you appreciate everything. And doctor, you know more about that than I do. You know, just to be able to breathe sometimes is like a great thing. But he also says the actions that we take, of course, to choose life, being determined to recover from this disease and live a wonderful life. For others, bereaving the loss of someone to suicide, it's nobody's fault but depression and mental illness. Dan, his experience and survival, wants to gain more insight about isolating pain, shame, and guilt. That suicide ideation causes the alone feeling one suffers from the secretive thoughts of wanting to kill oneself. And by the way, if anybody watching this movie that thinks there's an earthquake over where Dan is, wrong. There's no earthquake. At least not that I know of. His doctor, I know you can't see it, but I can. I mean, he's adjusting his screen. It's going like all over the place now. Like we just had a
my
fire.
battery's getting low.
Yeah, I didn't see any walls come down and the ceiling fall, so
Okay.
Yeah.
he's safe. So, doctor, your show, go for it.
No, this one. What a great guest and at the right time, because look what's happening in the world and uh, contrived crises. Everyone knows that. A lot of science behind that. However, what has happened is that our government and the powers behind the government has chosen to quarantine us, which is very curious to me. You quarantine healthy people. I don't quite get it, but there is a cost to that because you've reinforced uh, helplessness and hopelessness, and you've put everyone at home in fear. And Dan's going to be able to speak to this because what has not been discussed is there's a flip side to distancing yourself from this virus jumping, which viruses can't jump 6 feet, but we can actually talk about that later if you want. But there is a cost to keeping people confined and socially isolated and afraid, and from there, what kicks in? Depression, anxiousness, and a lot more people will die from the isolation, and which includes suicide, as opposed to letting them get out and get some sunshine, which is causes an endorphin rush and makes you feel better and is very healing. And to find a way to decrease that fear. And along with the fear comes shame and guilt and that wonder of what's going to happen next, and scared, 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 afraid, afraid, afraid. And everyone's losing their income. No one knows what the future is like, and not feeling good. And so, what's this lockdown has caused is loss of hope. And so we've got the right guy at the right time coming in here. And yeah, this would be kind of great to have him back more often because we need this. And especially when you're told, oh, this is going to go on for another 2 years. Really, the economy is broken. Everyone's broke. And they're grasping for any lifeline out there. And once you can't do that, you start to get desperate. And desperate people do desperate things. And one of them's, suicide. And the social isolation makes it worse and worse and worse, and a lot of studies on that too. Dan, welcome. Tell the Premier One audience a little bit about you. Earlier years and why you do what you do now, and why they call you the Suicide Warrior.
Well, thank you, Doctor. And hi, Bob. Good to see you again, talk with you again. It's been a while. And we got plenty of time to really self-reflect, and you're right. It's a really difficult time. This virus is wreaking havoc on the world, and what's going on, all the suffering. A little bit about myself. I grew up in an Italian family, tough Italian father, worked hard in my life. I'm from the Boston area. You can hear my accent, of course. I park my car at Harvard Yard all the time. No. So anyway, I grew up, I was a hustler, I worked hard in my life like my dad. I was doing construction work with mechanics, I was just a blue collar worker in my life, driving tractor trailer and doing my thing for 6 years with that, cross country, married. I got a boy, a biological, I got stepsons and a stepdaughter. I got about 6 now, grandkids, everything. But anyway, when I was driving in the 80s, I fell asleep at the wheel in a tractor trailer and I hit a bridge abutment at 70 miles an hour. Just crushed the truck, crushed everything. Lucky I'm alive. I mean, I shouldn't even be here for what happened to me. I was 27 years old. Stopped my blue collar work after that. I survived the accident miraculously, and your story moved me very much because the suffering that goes on with each individual, you don't know whose story is what and what inspired that person to not give up. And even in the tragedy, that I've heard about you or Christopher Reeves or anything like that, and you say, where does the human spirit come from? Why, how does this, it's just, to me, no matter how much bad's in the world I see as I've been growing up and at my age now, the good seems to always surface and just crush the evil and crush the bad. And like this virus is just another bad virus. It's going to be crushed, and it's going to be crushed. And people are going to, come back to living. And unfortunately, people are dying. But anyway, after the truck accident, 40, 50 stitches in my head, broken ribs, couldn't breathe for a week, got out of it. And I got into real estate. Now I get into white collar jobs, opened my own real estate office, very successful, did very well. I was divorced after the truck accident. I did remarry, and I had a nice office. I was really going with it again. And 10 years, and then just growing up, you're young, 20s, 30s, just we're young. So we learn as we go. And it didn't work out. I took it very hard. It was my first time I ever even had any suicide ideation or any inkling of that in my life. Started getting depressed after the divorce, and then I couldn't run the business because you become so disoriented when you start getting depressed, which I didn't know anything about. And I'm sure everybody has suffered some depression to some extent, even getting down, but to the point where you start suffering every day and you can't function. This kept really building up, lost the house, divorce, moved. I would never recommend to anybody that they, do three major things at once, obviously. Got to Florida, started suffering more in 96, really started getting suicide ideation. The depression got worse, just thought about ending it all the time. The pain was overwhelming. It was like an 800-pound gorilla on my back. And just our sufferings are all different, right? But when you suffer, whatever that depression is, whatever tragedy, whatever, anything that's happened in your life. And the suffering always equals the pain, no matter what the suffering was. Some are more severe than others, others obviously. But anyway, 8 months suicide ideation, planning it, get the pills, the vodka, didn't want to do anything drastic. I don't like to talk too detailed about it because I hate to trigger anybody. So I stay away from the actual details of what happened in the hotel and everything, and just surviving. And at that point, consuming, I should have been dead. I wake up in the morning, I'm green, I'm red, I'm not right. I got all these chemicals in my body. I get to the hospital in Florida. Doctor's pissed off. He's like, we're trying to save people here. You're trying to end it. So we're going to try to save your life. How much did you take? How much Tylenol? And it was a massive amount. I don't even get to the numbers, but building up to that moment was very scary. You don't know who you are anymore. You're fearful. All these things were going on with me. So they got me in the hospital, went through ICU for 5 days. I was on my deathbed at that point. Everything was going to fail, my kidneys, liver, everything in my kidneys. And it was a very traumatic time. The dialysis machine was taken away at one time. I'm signing all these papers now that things could kill me. I'm like, hey, I don't know. No, I don't want to die. Well, you already did the job, so we're going to try to save you. I'm signing paper after paper. Finally pulled out of it, and miraculously, the IC unit was just looking at me like, wow, we can't even believe you're walking out of here. And I had no complications from it. But the depression never went away. It stayed there for a while, a year or two. Took me a long time taking on the little short list of life. Humble, humiliated, didn't have nothing. I had family around me, and it's good when you got support, but you're still all alone walking down that road. And the heaviness in your head all the time. And I knew I had to do it myself. I had to make the comeback myself. I had to start doing things, even if it was just taking a shower and getting out of bed and eating and reading and taking on these short responsibilities, which I had massive responsibilities before. And got better, moved back to Boston, boom. And, it was a divorce, and I stayed single for about 3 years, and, I got to go back to school. I got to do something. Never went to college. I took a full course in psychology for my associate's degree because I said, geez, if this is happening to me, I really want to know how and why. What is all this about, this depression, everything I've dealt with? So I did that. I met another girl in the college. I was older at the time, in my 40s, and all the younger people like, hey, you're cool, you're going to college, and I played baseball at 39 years old on the team. in the college. So I was really making a comeback. I was really fighting my way back. And everything was going great. Met the new girl, the stepkids, got married, reopened a real estate office. The depression was gone after 14 years. Everything was gone. I mean, it was back to living and back to life. But you can never say never. So we moved into a home early 2000s, business, everything's going on. And 2007, my stepdaughter Justine, I was raising since she was 7, got in a car accident, and she took a traumatic brain injury at 16. Only she survived, and she took the worst in this accident. I'd never seen a mother, my wife, that suffered watching her daughter and seeing her all in apparatus. And it was the most horrific thing we ever saw. I ever saw. I mean, my dad had me around a lot of charitable works when I was young, a lot of handicapped people. So he taught me how to care for people when I was a young boy and helping other people. So this really rocked the family in 07. Got her back on her feet to a point where she functions fairly well, but she deals with the TBI. Was going to be a lawyer, model, beautiful Italian Portuguese girl. Changed her whole life. And she got that, hand dealt to her, right? She made the wrong decision one night, got in the wrong car. We got through that. And after all, we got her back on her feet just about where she can function, but she still needs to be cared for. She's not like crippled or anything, but, the memory and, she loses things she can't remember, all of that. So it was very traumatic. And at the end of it all, I'm like, where am I at? I'm not speaking because I thought back in 2000 I was going to start saving the world from suicide. I wrote a 33-page program in the college. The professors looked at it. It was all about statistics and where it starts and where it goes and how isolation is and everything. So I'm going to take this program and I'm going to reduce the suicide rate. I was all for it. And then, of course, business took over, family took over, and life took over. And it got put on the back burner. But after she got hurt, I felt like a big air balloon deflated. And I felt all alone again after we saved her with the boys and the kids. And I just started getting depressed again in 09. And it really come back with a vengeance. It was
like 2008 too.
Yeah, so really bad. It was really on me. So I had a person that introduced me to Buddhism years ago, and she's talking to me. She goes, "What's the matter?" I said, I just lost it all after what happened to Justine. I'm just like really bad again. Got clinical. She goes, "Why don't you go to a Buddhist meeting? Maybe you need to meet a male figure in this Buddhist practice and might help you a little bit with what's going on." I mean, my whole life I've been Catholic, God believer, but I said, I'll check out the wisdom. I've always liked it, a Deepak Chopra. I've always liked the Buddhism. So I met a gentleman in 09, and he introduced me to chanting Nam Myo Renge Kyo as a Buddhist. Tina Turner actually chanted also. And, a lot of people, are part of the organization, and it's over 12 million people now. And it's a great organization. So I start chanting. I'm thinking, okay, this sounds okay, and it's making me feel a little better. But when 2010 came, I was on like 5 different meds. I was having a lot of problems again. And I was like ready to do it again. And my wife walked in one day and I said, I need help. First time I've ever said it as a man like that. And I thought it, back in 96 that, even though I said I need help after the fact, this time I said I need help before I did anything. And I looked at her, I said, you got to get me to the hospital because I don't think, things are very good right now. And I got admitted, did the whole 5th floor thing again and did all up there being watched. But after I got out and they let me out too soon, I ended up making a second attempt, pills again. And it was just more humiliating and more embarrassing this time because I had the wife and the kids and I was ashamed, and the shame was really overtaking me again. Like it was then. You think you're a chicken, you're the easy way out. And I said, I can't do this. I can't do this again to myself first and to my kids. So it took me almost chanting and doing my thing for a couple of years. And I was like, well, is this practice working or not? And I was practicing for my son to come back to my life. My biological son was estranged from me. He came back into my life. So I said, hey, the practice might be working. I'm bringing some good fortune to myself. I mean, he came back in my life, things were good. So basically, I got to the point where I started fighting back, and the chanting helped, fight like a lion, blah, blah, blah. Before you know it, I started making a determination today that I'm going to be off meds in a year and a half. By December of 11, I was med free, and the chanting was really going good, and things were getting stronger and stronger. By October of 12, they asked me to go to a Buddhist conference in Florida. I'm in front of 150 guys giving my experience about everything I just told you and about my stepdaughter. About 60 guys come up to me as a men's conference saying how much it moved them that I fought back. And now after 12 and getting better, just helping people along the way, I went public in 16. And I said, I'm going to bring it out. I had to really overcome a lot of shame and guilt. That was the big thing. And go with my first video. And now I have a never give up video. I got over 300,000 views. Never thought I would ever be there. People watching me like that. I got like 60,000 likes on my public page. Pinterest, 50,000 viewers a month. And I think back where I was in the desolation of the hotel in 96. And I think back where I was all alone and hallucinating in the bedroom and taking these pills to end my life again. And I'm like, look where you are now, Dan. Look, the practice helped you, helped yourself. Now you took your suffering and you're helping other people. And that's my story. And here I am today, and I connect with so many people that just ask for encouragement to maybe go get help and do what they need to do for themselves. And it's been a ride, but I wouldn't change any of it.
No.
I wouldn't change.
When I listen to you, it's one, you're quite amazing because you're a guy from Boston, and I love the accent. And then what's happening is that when you're younger, never in your wildest imagination would you ever think that this would all happen to you. And what you've just explained is that with all the attention you've gotten from your videos and things that you put out on social media, is that there are so many people out there that are isolated and they don't know where to go, and they're grasping out there for a lifeline, and they don't know where to get it from. And for the rest of us in the public and society, we don't know how to help. Okay, because we're so busy doing our thing, and especially in the Western world and in the United States, it's the Puritan work ethic, right? It's achieve this American dream. You got to go do it and things. But along the way, life happens, and that happened to Bob, happened to me, happened to you. What happens when that pain becomes chronic and you suffer, and you're going, whoa, what's going on? And I can't, a good night's sleep doesn't get rid of this. A lot of booze doesn't get it. Pills don't get it. What is going on? And so, what I see here is you've determined, you put your foot down eventually, and you kind of determined a purpose for you. And then you started rekindling or creating self-love for yourself. And then, because once someone loses hope, it's hopeless, and there is nothing to move forward for or with. Like I say, so beyond the children, beyond the spouses and all that, is that without self-love, you're stuck. You're darn stuck, and you're going, okay, God, what on earth did I do to you? What's going on? You see, and then so what happens is that your soul, I believe, actually spoke to you, and then what we're soul and the flesh meet. We call that human, right? But where you're having this human experience, but your spirit, and says, I want to grow. There's something more for you, more for us to do, and you grew, and look what you've done. Because now it's like I think I talked with Bob a lot with this, is that that there's like 11 primary God laws, and another one, the most known one, is gravity. Okay, because we don't talk about that, but we know about gravity. And I said, well, Dan, if you walk off that 12-story building, that's not going to do well for you. Okay, so please don't do that. Okay,
right.
and things like that. But the law of attraction is the one that people most know. But you've employed all the others because it's like colors in the rainbow. All the God laws are sort of related. The law of attraction, law of vibration, law of obedience, law of sacrifice, law of thinking, law of non-resistance. You see, and then you got into the flow. I call it the God flow, and it's I also talk in these ways too with and Bob does also with energy. Okay, you're in the energy zone, and then where does love come from? It comes from a source, and we all have that. I think for you discovered self-love because you are an important, unique someone. There's no one else like you. From the fingerprints, right? But you have your own soul print, your own voice, your own thoughts. No one's like you. You're unique, one of a kind. No one else like you. And I think you've discovered that self-love, and you dug your heels in. And depression hits a lot of folks out there, and some of it's biologic, some of it's genetic and epigenetic and things like that, and some get triggered, and yours were triggers because from the marriages and the accident. A lot of people die from those kind of accidents, going that fast. You lived, and the way I see it, and the way I see what happened to me, and Bob could have died too, is that I just don't think God wants us dead quite yet. We're not done doing our thing.
Hey,
Look what you've done with what your videos and your stance, and with this very detailed purpose. You saved a lot of lives from just being you. You saved your own life. And then, you're meant to do something like this. And, when you're some 12-year-old, you're going, this was the furthest thing from your mind. In fact, that this is something that other people do. But look what you've done. That's so. Now, what's ahead of you now? And now, do you maybe talk to a few people here and there that contact you individually, or do you go out and talk in groups and all that? Because this is something no one really talks about. They talk about weight loss and things like that, or eating better, or things. But as far as suicide goes, it's I think more common than people think, and it's on people's minds. And I think a lot of folks are wandering. They don't have self-love, and a lot of them have given up hope. And it's like one of those silent kind of things, because who do you talk to about this? Because more so for a guy, like you were saying, I'm a guy. Guys don't talk about this kind of stuff. That's like for weak people, and folks that just don't have any courage, and they're so sometimes, I think most of the time, people don't want to talk about it. So what would you say to those kind of folks? And how do you get more of your message out there, because people so need it? A lot of folks are desperate, but they don't know who to talk to.
But you get a lot of what I found being on social media, which is, today's future. Social media can really connect with so many people. I mean, I could never do enough speaking engagements, although you like to be live with an audience. You like to feel it in the energy in the room, like you talk about energy. In our Buddhist practice, it's all about the universal gods and the energy and the godlike, and everything's there, and it's about turning that poison into medicine, and taking those sufferings, and our sufferings become our enlightenment, right? So our sufferings, that's what we've taken on this appropriate karma to fulfill our mission. Bob, you, me, we've all taken on this appropriate karma. And, we said in a distant past, whatever it is, but this is the karma that has come into our life. And when people stop fighting their karma, which could be bad or good, right? But usually it's on the bad side for a lot of people. They don't fight it back and say, okay, how can I turn this poison into medicine? I gotta apologize, guys. Something wrong with my cord here, and if I don't go get my other cord in my vehicle, I'm not going to be able to stay on this call. Why don't you guys keep talking a little bit, and I'll be right back. Sorry.
Don't worry about it. I'll pick on.
I'll be right back. I'm going to go get it now. I'll be right back.
That's easy to do. Hey, doctor, there is one thing in that and you can go over it with with Dan when he gets back from getting us a new cord because he looks like he's having I don't know, a number 6, 7, or 8 earthquake over there.
Yeah,
Anyway,
no, I was listening to that,
you know,
but go ahead.
when he was talking about the things that he's done and way he's coming out of it and everything else, we don't realize it, but you did say it. We do have a soul print.
Yeah.
How many times have you heard me say to look in the mirror and say I love you?
Yep.
You know what I mean? You're not talking to the mirror. You're not talking to yourself. You're talking to your soul. You're talking, as I say, through the eyes. I mean, the eyes are the windows to your soul. Now, by doing that and talking to your soul is, and you talk about attraction. Yeah, everyone has a partner in life. Be it if you're a Catholic, it's a guardian angel. If you're another, religion or something, it could be anything from a relative to a friend to an energy entity. It could be a million different things, but it's still something. I mean, how many times did you, when you could see and you were driving? All right, I'll go back that far.
Yeah.
You take that, how many times were you ever driving and something either cut you off, came too close to you, stood out in front of you, bicycle in front of you, and your foot hit the brake? Like instantly, like in a millionth of a second, it hit it.
Yeah.
That wasn't because you saw it, because if from the time you saw it till the time your foot goes on the brake is that split second that your brain can't calculate. Something was on your side and forced you into what happened, and then you realized what happened.
Yeah.
You always realize later. Something else made you realize now at that particular second. And our whole lives are guided. I wouldn't be here if there wasn't someone that was protecting me. I was the one that met my father right at that pearly door, and it's like I'm supposed to walk through that thing into that bright light. And my father said, nope, nope, nope. You have work somewhere else. He told me I had children waiting for me. I had 2 kids. Oh,
Yeah.
I met my father. He was in the same exact trucking outfit that he had on the morning before the afternoon he passed away. I had coffee with him that morning. And that's exactly what I met at the door. When I described that, this is after I got out of the hospital a month later. But after I explained that to my aunt almost fell on the floor because my aunt knew the like on his hat, he had these Union buttons on his hat. And I knew how many buttons he had, and I knew the colors. And my aunts did too. Now, how would I know that if I was 9? Well, I was 8.5 at the time that he went out the door. And at 6:30 in the morning, you really didn't take a look at buttons or hats or anything else. But that was the only any part of his uniform that to me was totally different than what he walked out the door, because the hat was in the car. It wasn't in the house. You know what I'm saying here? These are things that you learn later. Somebody was looking out for you and Dan and me all at the same time. You would forget you. I mean, come on, a shot in the head head 12 inches away, and you should be blown away to next year. Me, I did the same thing Dan did. I mean, I hit the back of a truck at 70 miles an hour, slam right onto it, and they had a bag next to my body in the picture that the state police took on the what's the New York Thruway. I was out of there. My head was ripped up. My brain was hit in half in 2 pieces. They had a microsurgeon put it back together again. And here I am. I'm okay.
Wow.
Thing happened, and the same thing with Dan. Dan, I mean, let's face it, he was going to hang it up. He convinced himself he was going to hang it up, but somebody told him, no, 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 no. You may be crazy, but you're not that crazy. Let me talk to you. So then he goes, and he numb your hose, and that's it. Now he's back together again because he contacted that extra entity that's in our lives, all our lives, all the time. And if you learn to talk to them, they talk back. Oh my God, they talk back. Yeah, they really do. And because of that, you can be a teacher. You can teach the world what you know, because people don't take the time. Even though, look, geez, there's 5 computers going right now and then around me, and I can connect with all. But the idea of the thing is all this media stuff and everything. Let's face it, I take it all with a little grain of salt. You know what I mean? It's a great tool. You can talk to a lot of people. But I'm sorry, I had 39 years in the music business. I like a crowd. I like people standing on tables. You know what I mean? It's like this is not my, but like this time in with the COVID-19 and everything else. This is not my. I mean, when you walk in the door, I feel like Moses. You walk in the store or something like that. If you don't have what's the mask on or something, the whole crowd that's inside the store parts like the Red Sea. You know, it's like, oh, here it comes. And it's a crazy thing, but you know what? This is something that, just like Dan said, we're going to get through this, and we're going to get through this with a feeling that we conquered something, because there is no like disease like H1N1. There's a disease that nobody knew about because the president of the United States considered it not something that was important to him at the time.
Yeah.
Almost as many or more people died. Well, I think it's almost equal. Died of H1N1 that have died so far in the United States from COVID-19. And at that time, was there any businesses turned down? No. Did we lose any money? No. Did we lose our jobs? No. Did anybody know about it? Probably not. Because the media just said, oh, we can't say anything about that? Okay, then we'll be good boys and we won't say anything about that. And that's how we were drawn by the nose to believe something now that still I don't think it's as bad as it is. They're saying it is. I really don't. I could see the germ itself and that being a bad germ, but let's face it. 2 years ago, they were giving out flu shots. You could go to a CVS or a Walgreens or something like that and you get a shot. Boom, walk in the door, you get a shot. You get a shot. You get a shot. Meanwhile, nobody knows what's in the shot. They have stabilizers. That was just on TV too. I was laughing at TV. They were talking about stabilizers and they say it's for the shelf life of the vaccine. That's why they put the stabilizers in. But they don't tell you it's formaldehyde, aluminum, mercury. I mean, yeah, does that work in your body? No. Is it poison? Yes. I mean, should you take it? No. But they're going to give it to you anyway. And now they want to put nanonets into the vaccine so that they can track you anywhere you go. So if you go to the bathroom, you better not stay there too long. Somebody will knock on your door and say, what are you doing in the bathroom so long? I mean, I'm serious. I mean, this is crazy what's going on right now. And you know what? We are three very important people. We all have a position that we have to do and a job that we have to do that humanity is needing. They need us.
Agree.
And that's what we're talking about. So, Doc, what's on your mind? I
totally agree.
Face.
Well,
I'm back.
Happy belated birthday to you, Bob.
Wait a minute. Dan just said something. What, Dan? What'd you say, Dan?
No, I was saying I got the quote. This one I've been dealing with for the past 3 days. I just said this thing's been intermittent. I'm throwing it in the barrel finally. So I got the one out of my vehicle. So at least I'm going to stay charged through this conversation. But I was going to say the doctor was asking me about people I speak to maybe one-on-one. And, I mean, I can't speak to everybody. Obviously, you're not going to speak to 100,000 people like you can on your video, and they watch it and say, hey, I'm listening from India. I'm watching from, I'm all over the world, and people are saying, I'm watching from Egypt. I've wanted to take my life, can you message me or something like that. But just put example on the men you were talking about, because with the men, it's more of a tough guy, pull yourself up by the bootstraps. My dad, my brother I was with, you don't need medication. Italians, you don't need medication. Have some wine, you don't need medication, So, but, they don't understand the disease. And I didn't understand, this disease in 96. And I really learned a lot in 2010, especially early on in the course I was in too. I learned a lot about psychology. It really helped me a lot. And, but the men not asking for help, and they have the secrecy, there's a lot of secrecy going on when you want to kill yourself. You're alone, you're not telling anybody. I wasn't even telling my own brother I had the suicide ideation. And me and him were like, I'm putting my fingers together. I'm crossing my fingers, doctor. We were tight. And he never knew that I was thinking it. He might say, you never want to kill yourself, do you? Over a girl, over a business, over this or that. It's not all about that. It's just about the pain I'm feeling and the depression that I'm in and the chemical imbalance. Now, who knows? I played football for 10 years, when I was young. Who knows? I've taken some head hits pretty hard. I was a linebacker. I mean, I was taking some hits when I was younger.
Ouch.
and right into high school. And my dream then was to be a pro football player. That was all I had on my mind. I didn't smoke, I didn't drink. Like you said, when you're younger, 12, 14 years old, 15, hey, I'm going to be a pro ball player. That's my dream. And then that all got, wine, women, and song in high school. Everything changed. And then it's mechanic and everything, just going into blue collar work like my dad. But the men issue, I'll use an example. Instead of a man, even women, a mother contacted me, 27-year-old mother, 23-year-old mother, 11-year-old daughter, wanting to kill herself. This is how she contacts me through my public page. Just a quick message. So I start going back and forth with her. We never even talk live. And we're just going back and forth. And she goes, I'm very embarrassed to go ask for help. As a mother, I'm ashamed. Now the shame is now on the mother, not the girl that's 11 thinking about killing herself.
Right.
And they're getting younger and younger these days with the, I call social media, the internet has a lot of good, but it also is a social dump too. And it dumped on a lot of our children. And this kid was being influenced. Anyway, the mother kept asking me what to do. I was very direct because I'm like my dad like that. And I said, I know you're ashamed. I know it's humiliating because one of your kids want to kill themselves. But what's the alternative? If you don't do anything, she might act out and you're going to lose her. You need to get out there and you need to get with adolescent psychologists, I'm not a doctor or a psychologist. You need to get out there and see what kind of programs they are for adolescents and get help. You need to make this push. You need to have enough courage and enough hope in your heart to make this happen for her, because this is the only way you're going to save her life. Mm-hmm. So this was it. That's all I said. I encourage her strongly to do this. I get busy again. I'm speaking. I'm doing my thing. 7-8 months go by. All of a sudden, I get a picture of her and her daughter on my Facebook Messenger. And this is me and my daughter. They both had that little rosy cheeks, smiling, look like each other. And they're in the picture together. I know you can't see what I'm doing with my hands, but they're close together and everything. But, like you can imagine how they were in the picture. And they were rosy cheeked and they were smiling. And she goes, I just want to let you know, Dan, what you've done for me and my daughter to push me out that door to go get her help. And she went to all these adolescent programs, a couple of them, gave us all the material. And I'm reading this and I'm going, would you ever believe, Dan, that you made a difference like this for somebody? And this was back a couple of years ago when I got going. And she just said, I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. She no longer has suicide ideation and she's thriving and she's living life. So of course I start crying and I'm like, you got a mission, man. And if this is your mission for the duration of your life, your third chapter of your life, what better mission could you have like your dad taught you with charitable work? Because it's been all instilled in me when I was young, picking up handicapped people in cookouts, putting in seats for my dad. He ran cookouts, 3,000 seniors he fed. He made them big Christmas party for kids. It started with a few hundred in the Massachusetts area. Newton, they call it the lake down in Onantham, Newton, and he made it big Santa Claus every year, 2,500 underprivileged kids, handicapped, seniors, 1,500 handicapped, bring them into a park, have a cookout, entertainment. This is the kind of father I was around. Wow. And he showed me all this charitable work. And all of a sudden, as I'm going through all my personal, we all get self-centered and we all get in our 20s and 30s. And like my kids now, it's like, you're going to call me when you don't need something. You know what I mean? Because it's always when they need something, they call you, right? Yeah. So, it gets to that point. But I looked at now and I'm like, and I look at everything, I look back and I say, everything he's done for me and what he's done for me. And when I'm chanting Nam Yarenge Kyo and I show the gratitude towards my parents, and I even say this, even bad parents, they still gave you life and you can do something with your life. My father wasn't an angel, tough Italian guy. I took some physical abuse in my life, everything, but he loved us. I knew he loved us down deep, and he took care of 11 kids. You know what I mean? So, and I say, this is the point now when you talk about the men reaching out, and this is a real problem. A lot of men talk to me about it. They are very embarrassed. They're very ashamed. And it was a big problem for me my first time in 96. And then in 2010, I learned more actually, and I was practicing, and I knew how to be more compassionate with myself. And you mentioned something early on, Doctor. This self-love, you know? My father wasn't the AT&T type of guy. He wasn't hugging you on the commercial and saying, "I love you, son." He just wasn't that type of guy, you know? And I wish he had. I wish he had. I think it would have helped me a lot. But I don't hold it against him anymore. You know what I mean? Because he loved me. And on his deathbed, when he's breathing over the phone, we couldn't get back in time.
Yeah.
And he was 78. And I said, "Dad, you never said you loved me out loud, you know?" And all of a sudden, when I was saying it, he couldn't speak. He wasn't audible anymore. And as I'm saying it to him, crying, "See, you never told me you love me out loud. I know you love me, but you never said it." All of a sudden, his breath got rapid, like he wanted to say it.
Yep.
I said, "You don't even have to try to get it out anymore." And it was really a closure there in that part of it. And then it opened up my whole world after that Woody instilled in me. And my mom, my mom was very strict Italian, and, keep your spaces clean. Don't, take care of yourself, love yourself. But the loving yourself was a big problem. I wasn't loving myself, because when we start self-loathing and we stop loving ourselves, we think we love ourselves. We think, "Hey, I got it together. I love myself. I'm all, I'm happening." I mean, you talk about weights too. I was working out with a lot of weights when I was young at the time. I was, "Hey, I'm it, man. We got it going on." You don't learn humility, though. The humility that you gain from any accident like Bob's, and horrifically yours on 2 notes and mine, from the football playing, maybe the head injury, leak. I don't know. I've never been tested. The truck accident, flying out a tractor trailer at 70 miles an hour and finding me up 30 feet up the road, 20 the road, walking in a circle, bleeding, getting flown out of a truck, and the thing split like a can, and all the trailer ripped open. I mean, the cops couldn't believe I was alive, but all those impacts. And then I'm saying, was that some of it that contributed to some of my chemical imbalance when I did have triggers? Did it contribute? And then we talked about it with the psychologists and doctors, and certain medications were working and certain ones weren't. Old schools as Olaf worked for me better. And just to stay safe and not go friggin' jump off a bridge, and just stay safe and not want to go kill yourself. That was all I was living for at the time. Forget about any business or family. For a whole year, I stayed in bed in 2010 because I'm a stubborn Italian. A whole year. My wife's telling me, "You got to go shower. You got to eat something. And then you can go back to bed for 12, 15, 18 hours. I couldn't get out of bed. I was hallucinating. It was unbelievable. But then I got a Buddhist member said to me, "First of all, you got to get help then in 10," when I was staying in bed. And I'm chanting at the same time, because we chant through our sufferings too. It's all just sitting there getting good fortune. It's about suffering and asking for, that protection. So he just says to me, "If you don't put your foot on the floor, Dan, no one's going to do it for you." 40 years ago, when I started this practice 45 years ago as a Buddhist, I couldn't put my foot on the floor. I was depressed like you, wanting to go kill myself. And that day, I started putting my foot on the floor. And I said, "Man, you can't conquer the world, Dan. For everybody, Bob, you're not going to conquer the world after all this right away." And I just started pecking at cleaning myself, telling men that forget about being the breadwinner right now. Go wash, go eat, take your dog for a walk, watch some TV, read some books, keep it simple. Simplicity is a big problem, for people. And the more as you get older, you're not so gung-ho, and you relax, you sit back and say, "This is okay. It's okay to be quiet right now. It's okay to silence your mind." We talk about people in isolation now. I'm getting a lot of hits. See, everything is really escalated on my page. I got another 20,000 likes in a couple of weeks.
Wow.
See, people are reaching out. And all of a sudden, my Pinterest went from 35,000 to 50,000 viewers.
Wow.
And my Never Give Up video, I just made this video because never give up. It's a big cliche for the Buddhists. It's a big, motivating determination statement about never giving up. When we talk about determination, I was given a determination quote, and it really starts there. And, hope and courage is your last line of defense. When they say the soul, and when I'm failing myself, I say there's something there, and there's just a little bit left. There was just a little bit of spark left in me to not give up. That I got to stop the tempting, no more attempts, no more nothing, no looking back. And in 16, I chanted that night. It was 3 a.m. in the morning when I woke up, and all the shame and the guilt about coming public and telling the world you try to kill yourself twice, never mind once, was embarrassing to me as a man, as a human being. And I had to overcome that. And I made that video the first night. I look back on it now and I'm like, wow, you need some polishing on that, Dan. You need to get a little sharper there, because you're dragging and you're not
going to say,
get going, really let it go,
I'm going to say to you, you learned it, you did it twice, which means you didn't learn the first time.
That's right. I did. I learned harder the second time. It was a lot harder the second time because when I stayed in bed that long and it was just not living a life and you felt like you might as well be dead because you're not living a life. And a lot of people also, there's a lot of people that are self-suicide, it's almost like subliminal suicide. Mm-hmm. They're drinking, drugging. I know a gentleman, he's been in his mom's house for 20 years and he can't get out of that cycle, right? His soul's in that devilish function, that deep stuff that's going on, and he can't break out. But I've always had conversations with him, and I always tell everybody too, no matter how much help we get from doctors, therapists, inspirational speakers, motivational speakers, you name it, clergy, who I was running around in clergy in 96, they're telling me pray, pray, pray. But I wasn't making the right prayer either. And how we pray and how we crystallize our prayers is we pray. Buddhist, you pray as a godly person when you crystallize your prayers and how they develop. So it gets down to really, for me, when I'm dealing with people that are struggling with playing the victim, well, not playing the victim, but we're more the victim than the victor, and we get into victim mentality constantly. I'm always pushing on the others. I'm always pushing the other way. No, you can be victorious. No, you can overcome. No, you can press through this. But in the end, out of all those people I talked about we get help from, the moment came in my heart that I knew it was going to be up to me. Because when I start showing people I'm healthy again, there ain't going to be no stopping me now. Because now I know the bad side of it. Now I know that moment in that hotel room in 96 when I was looking at that little dirty corner of the room going, is where you're going to end it, Dan? This is where it's going to end? Really? And crying and suffering and crying and suffering and crying and suffering like people do. So when I go on all these, now I'm part of 50 groups on Facebook. They first were like, well, you're soliciting. I sell fun. It's not about money for me. I self-fund what I do. My father always self-funded. So I'm part of these 50 groups, and you want to talk about, at the beginning, doctor, you talk about the suffering that's going on. I know there's a lot of suffering in the world. We all know that. But now in these 50 groups, I'm seeing people constantly wanting to check up. I want to take my life today. This happened to me, that happened to me. And it can be overwhelming if you're not grounded enough and strong enough to absorb all that. I mean, I lost a young girl about 5 months ago. It was a family connection. Kind of came late in my life with her. She's been suffering since she was 11, and she ended up, after a month or so, 2 months, we talked, and she ended up killing herself. And I took it very deeply because I said, no, I want to inspire her in her heart that life is worth living. And no, I don't want her to be gone. But we don't have control over other people's karma. And we can encourage them and we can inspire them, but we can't control the ending of it, what's going to happen.
No, totally understand. Wow.
That is true. Dan is there somewhere.
Is Dan here still?
No, okay. he just touched his phone. He's there, but it's frozen.
His thing like that.
For some reason.
Yeah.
You were going to comment on what he was talking about.
No, I was well, initially before it was just you, and happy birthday. I'm a day late, but happy birthday. And
You know what? I tell you something. Yesterday was one of those days. I tell you, it was. I talked to my sister all day, on and off, and a bunch of other things, and my daughter, and that yesterday. And my daughter was the funniest of all. And that she turns around to me, she says, "But Dad," she says, she says, "How does it feel being 50, 58 or 59, something like that?" She said, and I said to her, I says, I wrote back to her. She was on text. Wrote back to her. I said, "How old?" She goes, "Well, this, that, and the other thing." And I said to her, I said, "No, not quite." And she goes, "Well, how old are you?" I said, "Well, go ahead, guess." And it was funny as heck because she turns around and she goes, "You gotta be kidding me."
Yeah, this is
I said,
at 10 years of that.
the funny thing about it is she is going to be 40.
Okay.
She's going to be 40. And I said, "You have the nerve," I said, "to ask me?" I says, like how old? I says, "You gave me 10 years. Thank you." But on the other hand of the thing, and that, people don't realize, here's one, we're talking about spirits and things. People don't realize that when you have your birthday, you are actually having your date or time of, it's like a landscape, a landmark. When you're the age you are, it's what's behind you that you got to that date. You've been around for this many years. And somebody asked me this morning that on one of the things that I was on, they said, what happened to, how do you come out with that idea? So I said to them, I said, okay, let me put it to you this way. When you were born, right? When you first cried, were you one? I said, no, you were zero. I said, but in a year, you were one. So how old are you now? So he told me how old he was. I said, well, that's how many years you've been on the planet. But I said, you're not that old. You're already in the next year. You're starting your next journey in the next year. So I said, whatever you say you are on your birthday is not your actual age. Your age, that's your age to that day. It's your age. On day two, nope, different ballpark. Now you're already going. So he said, God, he said, I never sat down and thought about it like that. I says, what's the matter for you? But I mean, it's crazy, but it's true. I'm going to while you are speaking, I'm going to see if I can somehow or another get to Dan.
I'm back.
He is back. Okay.
Yeah, sorry, my battery's been so low today. I've been so busy, and I should have been more prepared on the charge, but my new cord's keeping me there. But see what happens.
Yeah,
My apologies.
You're on the phone right now.
Oh, okay, hold on.
Oh, yeah, I can hear you quite well.
Oh no, that's yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. He's there somewhere.
Is it okay? No, Bob. See, when I first met you, you're the well, more so now, but probably one of the first guys that I've talked to that has led your kind of life, and a really actually you've done a lot of things in your life, especially with your musical background and getting into the broadcasting business. But to talk about self-love, other than me reading about it and with the people that I talk to, teaching them that you're the only one who's ever brought it up. Because like Dan was saying, especially if you're guys, you're going, that's too embarrassing. That's like girl stuff, or how foolish. You just got to be toughen up and strap it on, and and go achieve and overcome all that stuff. And up to a certain point. But there's a difference between self-love and self-esteem. Self-esteem is the stuff you've done, and it's more ego stuff. I was a great musician. I was great at like your real estate thing you're doing, and I'm a great network type of guy. I said, well, that's all self-esteem, but do you really love yourself? You're telling me what you've done, oh, what about, your soul, your spirit, your uniqueness? Do you have a lot of self-love? And a lot of guys, they will not say that, and Dan can probably agree to that, because we're so driven by that manly thing, and especially in our Western society, guys achieve, guys are tough, guys get into brawls and things like that, and that's, it really hurts a lot of us, because from there that isolates us even more, because if you come off like that, you think guy's gonna come up to you and say, hey Bob, you got time to talk about what, you weakling? Oh well, I don't want to talk to you then. So it's what he's finding out, Dan, is it's more and more common from guys, in the Western culture here, but all over the world, and a lot for women, because no one has stuff to talk about, because that you're being very vulnerable, and to some that might convey weakness. Okay, and it's not. We all, as human beings, are meant to interact, to transact, to talk to one another, to get close, and that's soul to soul speaking. And it doesn't even matter, if it's different languages. You can tell when someone's telling you something, even from a different language. You can see it and you can feel it. Energy you can't see, but you can feel, because you can feel when it's negative energy. You can feel when it's love energy, and love energy heals. That's why love is medicine. And when you talk about food, clean food, from the ground, without the herbicides, pesticides on it, no Roundup and things like that on it, that's actually love, because some source put food there for us, that becomes us, and then nourishes us, and it's a way for communications from the outside world to come inside. And when we talk about coronaviruses, like we have been speaking about, viruses we shed every day, every day. And so this is how we communicate with the outside world, besides the energy part, is with viruses, because we shed viruses. And what happens also is that animals shed viruses, so do plants, so do rocks and soil or dirt, so does water. And so the outside world, those viruses come into us, and so we gain information from the outside world. So it's really a remarkable system here, and some entity had to put this all together, and much smarter than human beings. We could never think about this. And so there is a balance, and there is a grace, there is a humility, that there is just a feeling of gratitude when you start thinking of that. And for you figure that out, and so did Dan. So did Dan. And of all the things, he got introduced to Buddhism, and Buddhism is one of those kind of based on Gautama Siddhartha. He brought a type of mediumness to suffering, as opposed to just suffering until you almost die and you don't eat for a couple months and suffer to endure the pain and things like that. He says, try it in the middle, and then with him it was appreciation, gratitude, to honor and to be open to feel. Okay, and so he got into that, and I just think it's in just an incredible thing, because that in itself, those kind of practices helped save his life, because once he started digging in and he made that decision, it's up to me, and this comes from Gene Houston. We're put here as God's seeds, and up to us to become God's selves. He became a God self, just like you, just like I have.
Well, there you go.
Because we've had that energy and said, you could have stayed down. You could have said, screw all you guys, or say, hey, I'm a rock star. I don't, and all that. And even from what's happened to you with deaths in your family, and with you, hitting that truck at 70 miles an hour, which you should be dead. You should be dead, but you're not. And there's a reason for that. You're God's not ready for yet for you to join. Up there, you have too much stuff to do on Earth yet. So that's why you got sent back.
By the way, we got to wind down. On the other hand, all right, he's not here for some reason. I don't know what happened. Maybe
Yeah,
it
yeah.
blew up. Who knows? But you know what? We're gonna have him back.
We have to. We have to. You know, he's.
Yeah.
You know, it's like all of three of us here on the show, and different experiences, but you know, similar experiences of what came about of all this. Because, and like I said, you know, you're one of the first guys who's talking about self love, and to make it a daily practice. I go, wow, I've never heard that besides me.
You
I've
know,
never heard of
I,
anyone say that.
I'll give you a tip on. I'll give you a tip on the whole thing. I mean, you can't see the mirror. All right, so I'll excuse that one. Oh no, wait a minute. We got Dan back. Oh, he.
Well, listen, I got about, I
No,
don't know, I gotta get to Verizon, although I don't want to stop mingling in the stores right now, but I got to get to Verizon on this connection on my cord because I'm usually 100% with these things charged, and I wasn't prepared, and I'm sorry.
we were gonna. It was the end of the show, but what I was gonna do was I was gonna tell everybody how to get in touch with you. But you know what? You could be a little more eloquent than I am. So tell everybody how to get in touch because this is a video that's going to be on. Not only is it on my channel, but it'll also be on Facebook tomorrow.
Yeah.
Now, for anyone else that's there, which is not us, which is us actually, the copy of this video is on the video. Is on the on Skype. As soon as we get off,
Yep.
you can download it. See, ain't that nifty? Plus, I also have a second copy just in case anybody wants it. Now I got a whole different one. So this is what we can do. We're going to probably have Mr. Dan back. Let me see. Now, today's the beginning of the month, maybe the beginning of the month in June.
Yes.
They say that everything is going to open up and people are supposed to get happy in June.
Yeah.
That's what I'm hearing. Yeah, they're going to get happy. Yeah, my, you know what? But on the on the other hand of the whole thing, they also said tonight that said, well, you know, everything the numbers net are going to double in June and everything. I'm sorry. I mean, I can say this publicly, and I mean, even the Philippines net is writing me a little thing and that saying, "Go on, boy, go on." I can actually almost read what they're saying, you know. But what is actually going on here is half of it is BS. If anybody knows what BS is, that's what it is. The other half of it is there is a thing around which we will talk about on into the show, the one world order. The one world order is something whereas they own you. Get it?
Yeah.
Now write that down somewhere. They own you. That means that everything you do, everything you feel, everything you want to do, everything you want to think about, everything you want to be is up to them. I'm sorry. I still believe in the Constitution. I believe in what it is. I believe in self-love more than anybody else in the whole world. And I also believe that although the eyes are the windows to your soul is there and it's yours. Nobody can conquer your soul. So therefore, if you love yourself, you can conquer the world.
That's right.
All by yourself.
I agree.
All by yourself. So, Dan, where can somebody get in touch with you?
You can find me on multiple like 11 social media sites and suicidewarriorssavealife@gmail.com. If you want to contact me on an email, suicidewarriorssavealife@gmail.com. Dan Pelly, just Google Dan Pelly. You'll see my public page. I'm on YouTube as Dan Pelly, Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat, Pinterest, Tumblr. I'm on all the social media sites trying to connect with the young people too that are struggling in this society. They got no direction, no mission. And as a Buddhist, it's part of the Kosen Rufu and helping people overcome their suffering. And like Bob was talking about, to be happy. Now we got to struggle just to be happy right in our own space. Mm-hmm. And we're going out to restaurants, movies, and breaking that cycle a little bit of being home. Now you really got to self-love. This is all you got. That's all you got left.
Yeah, people don't realize that.
And love others that are around you.
Happy is not hard to get to. It's not. Everybody thinks happy is a hard thing to do. No, it's not. It is not. I mean, look, and the doctor he's heard me say this a billion times. I go out at 6 o'clock in the morning and I go walk the dog. I meditate while I'm out with the dog. We take like a mile run, a walk, whatever, in the morning. it's dark. There's nothing out. There's no noise. You know, you can look up in the air and there's stars. You're in your own little world. You know what? You don't have to go out at 3 o'clock in the morning like I do, like an idiot, and go walk your dog. But I mean, I do more than that though, because I come in and do all my production stuff and on the radio and that too, and I'm all done. But the idea, yeah, well, it's good because your head is you're right at that point, right? This is good for people you talk to. Your brain is totally, totally, totally clean at that point. There is nothing. There is nothing. Why, if you have, say, you have a bill that's overdue, or maybe you didn't do something, or maybe you have to do something. All things when you go out at that 3 o'clock in the morning, in the first 15 minutes, all those things will pass through your mind and go in one ear and out the other. Now you already know what you're going to do the end of that day. Yeah. I knew this morning at 3 o'clock where this conversation was going to wind up. I knew it.
It's been great. I got to tell you.
Your mind is totally, totally clean. You can be anybody you want to be because you have your body is a vessel. It's a shell. That's what I mean? Your soul is the battery. It's the thing that makes everything move and go. Your brain is the computer. Your brain tells everything where to go. And if you can sync all three of those things together, you are a giant. But if one thing goes wrong, you got to get back to syncing again. And that's where self-love comes in. Self-love is a giant Band-Aid. It really is. Now, although they say a Band-Aid is a temporary thing, it's also a learning tool.
Yes, it is.
It'll teach you to be in a certain position in your mind, to be a certain mindset, so that you know exactly what you want to do, where you want to go, and what you want to be. You know what I mean? I mean, let's face it. Nobody gets up in the morning and says, "Hey, man, I'm really going to be an asshole today." Don't do. Oh, come on, man. You come from the Bronx. I mean, it's Boston. I worked in Manhattan for 25 years. I mean, seriously. I mean, those kind of guys were up every morning. They hang on trees over there. But the idea of the thing is, nobody purposely does this. You don't have to. You can get up and say, "I am awesome. I am beautiful. I am me." And me is a big word. It really, really is. It's 100% of yourself.
Yeah, it is.
You don't want to be 99% because 99% stinks. Forget about it. That's like a sale at ShopRite. Yeah, I'm serious. It's just like a sale at a market. You have to be 100%. If you're 100%, look, the doc, he's 100%. Why? Because he knew who he was, and he knew what he wanted to do, and he knew he had a family, and he knew that he wanted to be the person that he is today. That's why he's got his own show, because he can go out and lead people. Dan, I know what you do better as much as you do, because I mean, I follow you all over the place, and I'm serious. Well, if people don't listen to you, they need they got to go look in the mirror a few more times, because I'm serious. I mean, really, anybody needs someone to turn around and say, "Hey, this is what you want to do." You don't have to. Nobody has to do anything, but you want to do this to help yourself.
Yeah, and then when you help yourself, you're actually helping other people. Like I always say, when you become strong, you help others become strong. When I was at my weakest point, would I ever think that I'd be doing what I'm doing today? I mean, when I'm talking, I was desolated. I mean, I was just hopeless. I mean, it was all over for me.
If you thought you were doing what you're doing today, you go back to your shrink again, right?
Yeah, to do what I'm doing today, and I said, if I save one life, I've done so much in this world. And now I'm saving many I don't even know I'm saving. They don't always come back to you because suicide's such a stigma. They get nervous about putting themselves out there. But I had a young guy on Instagram real quick. He's a grunge rock player, young guy. Like, what's he have in common with me? I mean, I'm different in the 70s rock, and he's grunge, and he's all different. And all of a sudden, I got a message from him. I've seen his stuff, and 8 months go by, and he gives me a message. He goes, "Dan, I've been watching you for like 8 months." He said, "I got to tell you, dude, you've been inspiring me to carry on. You've been inspiring me to live.
There you go.
You've inspiring me to all the quotes and everything you put up. I just want you to know, just keep doing what you're doing, brother, because I just wanted to let you know that because of you, I carried on." And I'm like, these are the things that keep me going. Getting those little tidbits at times like that, it really propels me into my next video. And my next video is going to be about value. My last video, if you see me on YouTube, Doctor, under Dan Pelly, is suicide never a reason, and the keep moving. And it's a lot of Buddhist concept too that I deliver my wisdom with it in between my life and that and everything I do. So my next one, I really ponder it for a while before I get on. I don't like to over inundate with videos, but it's going to be about value and creating value in one's life, like you have, Doctor, and like Bob has, and like I have, to show these young people that you got to create value. There's a lot of stuff on TikTok, funny stuff. Hey, we like to laugh. But sometimes it's just really insulting. It's almost like, what value are you bringing, putting this on here? I mean, are you bringing any value with this besides getting a chuckle? Let's bring some value to people today.
Yeah, well, that's the reason why this show.
And for you, and not just for ourselves, to other people.
In June, we've been doing this 10 years.
Wow.
Wow.
Congratulations.
I mean, in internet radio, too, maybe, people stay in this. They don't go as far as we did. And we're
a warrior.
You're
a warrior part.
I don't know about the warrior part. But I'll tell you something. I mean, sometimes I feel like smacking my head up against the wall a few times. I mean, if something goes wrong around, I mean, the doctor can tell you because I've done it right in front of him. We've had everything like just go out. And it's not here because here is put together too well. But it's like from the guest side, we've lost guests and everything else. Like you saw, I was back here. You're still here. Yeah, you're still here. You're still in the thing. And look, let's face it. When you look at the video in that later on, you'll see yourself disappear. But there he goes. Ding.
He's going to get a new cord.
Yeah, really. But next time, you better have a new cord.
I'm going to make sure I'm 100% charged. Believe me.
There you go, Doctor. Where can we get in touch with you?
Oh, my email, drr at drrandallgeorge.com. I've got a couple websites, drrandallgeorge.com or drrandallgeorge.nozawa.com. Hey, you can even call me. Please do, because I like to talk to folks, and I like to talk to folks. Area code 253-213-7300. So please call me. Let's chat. Let's get you going too.
Well, there you go. And everybody, hey, you know what? This has been an awesome show. It really, really has. We've said a lot on the show, and anybody watching the show, let me tell you something. Just go back and listen to where to get in touch with somebody. Get in touch with that person, because Dan is around all the time. I know him. He'll be there. He'll answer you. The doc, on the other hand, he may take a little while to detect you because you've got to find out when the email goes there. But within a day, he will get in touch with you. That's for sure. Meanwhile, we are ready to get out of here.
Thank you, guys.
Great. Hey,
do it.
God bless y'all. Bob Charles.
I'm gonna get killed, buddy.